Thousands of evacuees are wondering when they'll be able to return home. The fire at this Winston-Salem fertilizer plant now burning for 24 hours.
I had an alert on my phone telling us to evacuate, so I just packed up everything and no questions asked, I'm just getting out of here.
The 600 tons of ammonium nitrate on site fueling fears of a catastrophic explosion. Overnight, firefighters ordering residents within a 1 mile radius to leave immediately.
If it explodes, it'll level a 1 mile radius. Please exit the area.
Evacuating themselves too. Tonight, authorities hoping that they're able to keep the fire burning cool enough to avoid a potential blast, and that
I got some video here of the smoke plume. I'm trying to get as close as I can. A lot of the area has been quarantined off, but this has been burning for almost 18 to 20 hours now, and it's just been emitting an immense amount of smoke and toxic plumes into the atmosphere. Unfortunately, I live fairly close by. Actually, I'm trying to get home and keep this all going. But this has been going on since sometime around 8 to 9 last night, maybe before then. And the air quality has gotten worse. I'm sorry, as I come closer to the area, I can actually taste something on my tongue. But yeah, the fire is still ongoing. Oh yeah, you can see it really close now. I've been told that the firefighters have given up. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Jesus.
Well, good morning, everyone. Yes, it is one of those days. Good morning. How are you all? It is great to see all of you here. And I am Sandy Shellis, and Antonio will be with us shortly. He has to get ready. He had to evacuate his home, obviously, during, for this thing. And wow, I'm right. Okay. Hi, Nicholas Miller. I am right here. Let me just do something. I got to fix something here. Whoop, there we go. All right. So let's get started. I have a lot today. I have a lot to talk about. I have to say hi. Nicholas Miller, Scott, Kay, Kameshwari, Kate, moderating, Jean, we're going to talk about, she's asking what chemicals are burning. We're going to talk about all that. And hi, Walker. How are you, buddy? This is my buddy. They want to kill people. Yeah, well, what do you think? With health issues. Anyway, let's get started. Hi, B. Yeah, it's good to see all of you. Chris Foster, I think. Yeah, hi from over the pond in Bella. Yes. Okay. All right, so we can start with this cute one from Bila. All right, it's inhumane, in my opinion, to force people who have a genuine medical need for coffee to wait in line before people who apparently view it as some kind of recreational activity. All right, well, good morning. And I have my Environmental Coffee House coffee cup, which, because I don't have the green screen on, I can use. And I'm actually going to be looking for coffee cups for you guys. Everybody wants one. I've been saying this for 5 years about these goddamn coffee cups. And where I had this one made, they, I don't think they have the size, this size, you know. And I used to send them out. I used to just send them out to people. I can't afford to do that anymore. But we'll see, because there's a lot of you on Buy Me a Coffee that have donated. So let me see what I can do. So the first thing before Antonio joins us, let's see what's going on in with breaking news. Let me see if I can pull some up and see just what the frig is happening here. The updated stuff. All right, let's go for this. Make sure it's. Wait, you know what? I'm going to do it on here instead of this. Sorry. I am usually very prepared, but you know how it is. All right, let's see what's happening here.
6 hours roughly, the fire at the Weaver Fertilizer Plant in Winston-Salem has been burning, and it's still going at this hour.
People within a 1 mile radius of that fire have been told to stay away from the area, at least for now. Our team is live this morning covering that story from just outside the evacuation zone.
Rachel Ellis is on Indiana Avenue at Perimeter Point with fire officials. Jackie Pascal is at the evacuation site at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds, and Christina Evans is here with us in studio. Let's check in with Rachel first. Rachel, officials gave us another update roughly 2 hours ago. Get us up to speed.
Audrey Devante, good morning to you. Well, that 4:30 a.m. press conference is where we learned that there have been no changes to this overnight fire, or this fire that's lasted nearly over 24 hours now at the Weaver Fertilizer Plant. We know that it's basically looking the same way it did when we woke up yesterday morning, and right now air quality concerns are also still very much in the picture, and there is still a risk of explosion. But overnight, the EPA has been conducting their air monitoring, so using drones and helicopter imaging to see exactly what firefighters and first responders will be dealing with here. Still, firefighters are not able to actually be physically on that plant site. They have to monitor what's going on from above, as I mentioned. So actually, firefighters are still not fighting that fire, but right now people are still asked to maintain the 1 mile radius away from the evacuation site, and that includes first responders. Want to emphasize that. And you know, there was a temperature drop overnight, so that means the smoke is more low-lying now, but as the temperatures warm up later today, that smoke will start to lift again. But just another reason for people to stay indoors if at all possible today, especially if you have asthma or any other respiratory issues. Breathing could be an issue for you. But we want to hear what that fire personnel spoke about this morning, especially you know, when they talked about what they could be dealing with over the next several hours and the next several days. And here's what he had to say.
The potential for an explosion is still there, and we have to be patient and just observe and keep those safe distances and those safe zones established until we get to a point where we can re-enter the site and start assessing that. So it will be drone operations.
And patience really is the name of the game right now. It seems like we've kind of been in a standstill, you know, from yesterday even. So right now, people, I'm sure, who also live within this 1 mile radius are eager to find out when there could possibly be changes. But right now, it looks like we just need to kind of wait and see. But we're going to send it out to our Jackie Pascal, who's live this morning at the Education Building at the Winston-Salem Fairgrounds, you know, where people are asked to stay if they live within that 1 mile radius. If they're not staying with family and friends.
Antonio
so Jackie, what's it looking like
mother.
there this morning, especially with this 48-hour evacuation period possibly extending even longer?
Well, Rachel, I popped my head in there a little while ago to the education building here at the fairgrounds, and there's only a handful of people inside this massive warehouse, so there's still plenty of space in here. People do need a spot to come for food or warmth or shelter. But again, they set this site up Monday night, and then they turned it into a full-on shelter yesterday for the American Red Cross. Volunteers were setting up cots. They have medical professionals on site. Again, lots of food and snacks available here, and they spent all afternoon kind of making sure this was equipped for people to stay here.
Okay, well, that one is long, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. What I really want to do is talk a little bit about this background of what, the ammonium nitrate is. Let me pull up an article. Okay. So this was from Frontiers in Public Health. And remember, there was the ammonium nitrate blast in Texas. There was one in Beirut. There's been a lot of them, and I have a whole list. So this was August 4th, 2020, in the port of Beirut in Lebanon. An uncontrolled fire in an adjacent warehouse ignited 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, producing one of the most devastating blasts in recent history. The blast, supersonic pressure and heat wave, claimed the lives of 220 people and injured more than 6,500 instantaneously. So I suppose Winston-Salem is goddamn lucky because it didn't blow up immediately. They're just waiting right now. Severe damage to nearby dense residential and commercial areas. This is a review here, and it's one of the in-depth reports to provide a detailed analysis. So what they're talking about here is chemical explosion. They cause large disasters and civilian mass casualties. Of course they do. I mean, what would it be like if they didn't, right? So they say the Beirut explosion created a massive blast that produced oh my gosh. And remember the Richter scale, the 3.3 magnitude on the Richter scale, it was pretty bad. So this whole article talks about health and the environmental implications, and that's going to be everywhere that this happens. This happened on the Mediterranean Sea, and they show the blast location, and it was just an uncontrolled fire that erupted at a fireworks warehouse in Hangar 12 of the port of Beirut. And it was caused by so much stuff there that was, and it was in an adjacent warehouse. All right, so Beirut blast injuries, understanding this common type of injuries associated with blasts is essential to developing an appropriate emergency response and treatment plan. Now, in the United States, that is what Nicholas Humphrey, who is a meteorologist but is also doing his PhD, is going to be doing. So if he was working in the field at this moment, he would be in Winston-Salem, I believe, if he does get a job with FEMA. So they had in Beirut unique characteristics of this disaster. I don't even want to go through all this, but it was just insane. And what's happening, let me see. So what's happening here is in Winston-Salem is that there's no improvement. And they say it's a fertilizer plant. And this was the emergency management guy. It didn't change overnight. And of course, Antonio's going to talk about all this. They said that it did not change, but they're waiting. It could have an explosion. Crews are continuing to keep a close eye on the fire at Winston Weaver, burning since Sunday evening. It could have the largest explosion, right? The largest explosion in U.S. history potential. So, yeah, big explosion. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, because then Antonio could literally lose his home. And we're going to hear from him. Like I said, he is he's trying to get it together here. So I'm going to look. I just want to see if he's written to me. Nope. That means he will join. And that's really cool. So all the emergency personnel were still working outside a 1 mile radius of this plant for their own safety. And numerous agencies were monitoring the air quality, and they were flying drones over this. So Antonio obviously didn't have a drone, but in the beginning video, you saw what he was doing. And he said, here they said it could have been explosion within 36 hours. Now, I heard it was snowing somewhere in North Carolina, but I looked it up and it wasn't Winston-Salem. Unfortunately, it would have been a good thing if it was, right? So they're continuing to wait out that unpredictable fire, which is what Antonio is going to discuss with us. And let's see if I can get this bigger and see what this was. I mean, the pictures are always just unreal. Wait, let me fix this. Hang on a second. All right, let's play it. Let's see if I can play this. Oh, well, I don't know. I think it's just, oh, I see. Okay, this is a slideshow. So I can literally play this slideshow and play some music. I don't know. I've lost a couple of things here. Let's see. Where did my sound effects go? Okay, so let's hear this. Let's watch this. And I'm going to take myself off for a moment. Look at this. Well, here. Sound effects. Oh my God. Look at these pictures. Jeez. Holy crap. It's a big plant. Wow. Bubbling ammonium nitrate. Look at that. Weaver Fertilizer. Yep. Look at these. So that's that one. We will close this. That was so the pictures are coming out just like they come out everywhere else. They are coming out. And I do have a lot of stuff though, and like I said, Antonio's going to join us, but I wanted to show you something else. If I could find it. Oh, okay, here. We're going to look at pictures, more pictures, and then I'm going to see what you guys are up to out there while we wait for Antonio. My screen got all screwed up, so I lost, here it is. I lost ya. Here we go. Yeah, so it's quite the thing. But let me show you this. These are pictures that I got out just from doing a Google search, and I thought it was interesting to maybe show you these pictures, fertilizer plants fires in history, and they're all over. And this one is ammonium nitrate, but there are other ones in Texas, well, I think. But look at these pictures. Look at these pictures here, and imagine, which is what Antonio's going to talk about, living near a fucking fertilizer plant. And it's always in neighborhoods where people don't have the wherewithal to just go get a hotel or leave. I mean, it's terrible. And this is an article in New Yorker. So these are all from different articles but the graphics are, look at this one. Oh, that's a nuclear explosion. It might as well be a nuclear explosion, right? So let's see what NPR has to say. If I could pull this one up, this might be an older one, but there's a lot of stuff on it. This was from 2020, and this one shows that this one is the port of Lebanon. Look at the damage there. And I want to get down to where they were talking about. I think they were talking. Okay. So on the federal side, Department of Homeland Security, the EPA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, the U.S. Chemical Safety and Hazard Investigation Board, as well as the DOT and Agriculture, all have some piece of ammonium nitrate oversight. So then why is this Why is there an explosion now? Why? There's patchwork with dangerous gaps. So why we, after 9/11 in Oklahoma City and West Texas, continue to flirt with disaster with this material is beyond me, says environmental consultant Rick Hind, a chemical hazard and safety expert. Hind spent nearly 3 decades as Greenpeace's legislative director in Washington, D.C. He says federal oversight of ammonium nitrate storage, transport, processing, and use remains a morass of vague and slippery regulations despite repeated attempts to strengthen rules. Well, let's see what happens now, after this one. Ammonium nitrate is relatively stable under the right conditions, but when contaminated by dirt, certain kinds of wood, oil, or a myriad of other things, Hines said, it can become powerful. Explosives that today go largely unseen and underregulated because of the magic of the chemical and agriculture lobby, the fertilizer people, the people that are destroying our lands, ruining our soil, and selling us all this shit that we really don't need. I don't know. We're not talking about that today. That's another show, but they say it's stable. But when you look at what all the rules are, you can see this stuff's got to be handled very, very carefully and monitored while it is being handled and constantly inspected. And that's not happening. I hope Antonio has something about that, what was happening. He lives near there. I mean, we're good, hopefully he'll be here soon. Critics say OSHA, the EPA, and other federal agencies have consistently failed to adequately inspect facilities storing the chemical. At the time of West Texas, OSHA had not inspected the fertilizer company for 30 years. Okay, so OSHA gets the Environmental Coffee House flush of the day. Starting early. Thank you, OSHA. Thank you. That's why Antonio is now out of his house. Yeah, flush of the day for OSHA. All right. So remember, this was written in 2022. And in a detailed report, the Chemical Safety Board said West Texas was hardly the only risky site. So they highlighted a number of places that this is stored that have not been reviewed. So I wonder now what we're going to find out about North Carolina. It's they tried to close what's called the retail exemption, arguing that the definition of retail was dangerously vague. It allowed facilities with large amounts of bulk material to be considered retail, says a senior aide on the U.S. House and Education and Labor Committee, which oversees worker health and safety. He asked not to be named. Geez, I wonder why. Closing that loophole, the official said, would have bolstered oversight of hazardous chemicals. But industry sued, arguing that OSHA wasn't following proper federal rules making procedures. A federal court agreed. Now, this was in 2020. It's not, this is now going on what? How many? 2 years later? Well, a year and a half. The industry victory meant thousands of facilities storing large amounts of highly hazardous chemicals would remain exempt from safety management guidelines set by OSHA. There remains enormous industry opposition to covering ammonium nitrate under OSHA's process safety management standards. Now, doesn't that sound about right for our country? I mean, does the corruption ever end? Does the corruption ever end? Wow. Yeah, you guys are looking like you're definitely enjoying the chat, which is good. Welcome, Stephen Cutler live, and hi, Darlene and Gary Hoover, and who else is with us? Poppy, hi, Poppy Davis, and Boomer, you out there on the north left coast. Jean from Costa Rica, my buddy. Where are Jean? And Jerome. All right, Jerome, we're not talking about the vaccine, so knock it off. That's not what this show's about. You don't take ammonium nitrate in a vaccine. Walker says, I don't buy fertilizer. I go to the beach and use seaweed and fish to put nutrients in the garden. That's great. I make it out of compost. We compost, but it's not always easy. I've bought, but not that kind of fertilizer. No. So this guy said that the rule and many others, the chemical, fertilizer, and agricultural lobbies opposed any attempt to strengthen regulations. Isn't that always the way? They just think that this shit's going to be okay. So this guy says these industries have repeatedly successfully blocked enforcement of new safety provisions for ammonium nitrate. So the old rules, which Michael's called ludicrous and dangerous, they remain in place. They allow ammonium nitrate to be stored in wooden buildings, for example, without sprinklers. That's fucking insane. This is currently allowed under the OSHA ammonium nitrate standards because OSHA hasn't updated that since OSHA began almost 50 years ago. Now, I have not looked it up. So maybe when Antonio joins us, we can see if anything's been done, but I doubt it. It was left off the EPA list of highly hazardous substances, flagged for special attention at the end of the Obama administration. The agency did issue a rule that, in theory, would require some facilities to consider safety and accident prevention. Now, when I was looking at some of the videos from North Carolina, man, these guys are going to have to backpedal, man. They are going to have to really get their story straight about this, people. It is a priority. It should be a priority. So, safety, let's see if I can find that to change its safety management. United States Department of Labor. Here's OSHA. And this is the page where you can find the rules. They are initiating a small business advocacy review panel. All right, let's see. It's the improving chemical facility safety and security. Oh my gosh. So topics to be considered. Now, this is recent, I believe. They got a lot of work to do, huh? Clarifying the PSM exemption for atmospheric storage tank, oil and gas well drilling and servicing, oil gas production, expanding the coverage requirements for reactivity hazards, expanding the scope of paragraph E by requiring safer technology and alternative analysis, updating the list of hazardous chemicals, revising the standard to require additional management system elements. So there's a lot of stuff here. There's a lot of stuff. You want to see it, you can go there. Let's see if there's something that, well, what is it? So they say, what is the process safety management? And it's highly hazardous chemicals are found in numerous industries. So toxic, reactive, flammable liquids, gas, and if not manufactured safely, like what's probably some stupid thing happened in North Carolina, I'm sure. But this is the elements: employee participation where they work, process safety information, process hazard analysis, operating procedures, training contractors, pre-startup safety review, mechanical integrity, hot work permit, management of change, incident investigation, emergency planning and response, compliant audits, and trade secrets. So let's see. I doubt that they will have anything enforcement. Well, I don't know about this place. So there's a lot of stuff in here. And maybe, when Antonio gets here, hopefully we're going to talk about some of that. But I'm sure he's going to talk more about the environmental and why people of color always live near these shitty ass places. You know what? My daughter used to live right by the bomb trains in Buffalo. She, her house was 2 houses away from the tracks, and all those bomb trains used to be there. And I didn't love it. She had a decent house, but it was definitely in a scary neighborhood, which she sold during the pandemic. But it was definitely definitely a scary thing. I used to think, oh my God, if something happens to my kid, if there's an explosion, oh my Lord. So, what are you guys up to out there? Talking about compost? Well, that's good. Let's see. Yeah, composting and all of the things that we do so we don't have to use these fertilizers. But these things are like lobbyists and CEOs would be much more careful if their names and addresses are made public. You mean doxing them? Yeah. Well, Sandy, bringing the boom to ammonium nitrate. Oh yeah, absolutely. So let me see. Let me see if we can find and make sure that he's okay. All right, let's see here. Well, he's okay. He has the link. So remember, he is not at home. That's the problem. He's not at home. So I have no idea. Vicky's with us. Hey, Vic. My activist friend. Oh, she's a big activist. She's my real friend, personal friend, not just online, although you are all my real friends. I love you all. Anyway, all right. So besides that, while we're waiting for him, oh, Chicken Foot Ranch. That's right. Food forests don't need humans. I'm trying to do a lot of that. And this summer we will be talking more as I start gardening and start growing stuff, which I actually am. I love you too, Vicky. And I got to tell you, there are a few different plants that I can do this year legally. Legally. Yes, yes, yes. I can grow pot plants legally. And Kate, make edible landscapes in neglected urban spaces. Yeah, all this stuff. People say, okay, there's nothing you can do. We're fucked. Climate's disrupted terribly, blah, blah, blah. But we are here. These things are happening. We all have to make our life better in our areas. And so when people are negative and want to just say, well, F it, I don't. Now there's going to be a big movement. There's going to be a big movement, and it's going to be probably on this, I hope. This fertilizer, chemicals, all this shit. Yeah, it is. It's coming up to 420 party time. Yeah, with all the fucking people with their magical thinking that, oh, everything's going to be all right, even if we have more explosion. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Wait, let me see. What did you say? No, that's not the same Antonio. This is a different Antonio. Jerome was trying to figure out. Jerome, Antonio's part of our team, and he'll be here. Hi, Rich Diana. I'm Lightning Rod. I didn't say hi to you guys. So, all right. So here we go. He said around 11:30, and so you have to deal with my yammering till 11:30. We can look at. Let's see. Let's do this together. I mean, I had a lot of articles. Let's see. We had that. We had this. Oh, I have. Here's another one. Actually, this is pretty good. I'm gonna put this one back on. Put this back on, and show you the Twitter one because this is really a good. All right, let's see. Here we go. And I don't know. I don't think there's any sound to this one, so I want to go all the way back to the beginning and look at this plant. And you know what? I'll just put this in. We'll have some lovely noise while we look at the burning. Look at that. Wow. Ugh. There's the oxymoron. Yep. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff out there on this. I'm looking at Twitter. There's an evacuation center. Let's go back on it. Why not? Why not? We'll do the news. We're waiting for Antonio. I'm really, really hoping he's okay. We have to remember that he's been evacuated and he's probably working on trying to get his phone going or whatever he's going to do. So here's the evacuation site in Winston-Salem. and the Red Cross is on the Red Cross is there, which is good. A friend of mine works for, she is a Red Cross volunteer and a soil sample specialist. And she might be, who knows, maybe she's been called to go down there. Really have to give it to the firefighters to keep that from getting out of control. Oh, boy. Oh, here's a picture somebody put up of Beirut. So people have been talking about it. You know, they've been talking about it. Let's see. What does the governor say? Oh, that's not what, I don't know what he says. All right. So obviously there is, that was the drone footage. Let me see if I can get more stuff. I don't know, but we certainly can go back to the pictures because there's a plethora of information in just looking at these pictures while we wait for Antonio. This was the West Fertilizer Plant in Texas that happened. It's 57 now. 6 years later, learning from the deadly West Fertilizer Plant explosion. Wow, look at that thing. Holy shit. Boy, well, this was from 2019. They said, let's see if there's, all right, so that was the history of that one. What I want to go is, this guy, I don't know, cell phone video of the West explosion. I don't know if you can hear it. We can see. Of course, there's an ad. Why don't we turn down the ad? Don't you hate that? There's no way you can get away from these goddamn ads. All right, let's see what this one is. All right.
Are you serious? Yeah. Oh, you okay?
Dad?
You okay?
Dad, I can't hear.
Come here.
I can't hear. Get out of here. Please get out of here.
Wow, that's scary, isn't it? Wow. Very scary. Oh my gosh. That little girl was terrified. She was petrified. All right. Antonio's here. Let's finish that and let me get you in, Antonio. All right, guys. Wow. That was terribly scary. All right.
Your fire fuels their flight.
Screw that. Let's get Antonio in here with me. Alrighty, just 1 second. Antonio. Hello, Antonio.
Hey, Sandy, how are you?
There's a little bit of a lag, but we'll deal with it. Are you safe? That's the main thing. We have been talking here all about ammonium nitrate, all about where it happened before, what OSHA's doing, but what we want to hear from you is just what the heck happened in your estimation, and where do we go? What happened there?
Yeah, so this was a very interesting event. This actually only happened about 2 miles from where my apartment is located.
Wow.
And so it was fairly close in terms of proximity. But what happened was, and this was really surprising because I had actually worked in an office district right across from the Weaver Fertilizer company.
Wow.
And the issue is that the whole project is actually right in the middle of a residential district.
Yeah. That's the bad part.
Right. And it's funny because, we were talking about earlier doing a show on suburban sprawl and the environmental impacts of that. Well, this beats that, right? One of the things that happened is in Winston-Salem used to be a much more industrial city. Actually, I watched as I was growing up in the early 2000s, North Carolina deindustrialized. We saw a lot of our factory jobs pack up and leave. But, this was one of the remaining companies, we still do a lot with tobacco products here. J.R. Riddles is one of the largest companies here in Winston-Salem. And so we do a lot with fertilizer. And they had over 600 tons of this, which is twice as much that was in the Texas incident that everybody's familiar with back in 2014. Yes. So this was going on, and I was actually on my way to work last night, and I saw this very ominous, almost white cloud, actually some distance away from where the actual incident, the fire was. And at first, it didn't immediately bother me because, in this area, a lot of people burn leaves in their backyard. Although the smoke was entirely too much and too thick and in such a weird color that I knew it wasn't that. So I assumed it must be a house fire. But I didn't actually realize what was going on until I was back on my way to work almost 12 hours later. I was coming home at 8 or 9 a.m. and there was big rain clouds in the distance, but you could still see that this huge, ominous, toxic smoke cloud was enveloping the atmosphere over the city, particularly where I lived. And as I went closer and closer to the north side of Winston-Salem, headed toward Rural Hall, the whole area was just engulfed in smoke. And you could tell that this was a toxic burn. You could smell it. You could taste it on your tongue. And when I went home, because I had to work a third shift, I woke up later and I saw a thin layer of ash on my car from all of this that was going on. Gross. And that's when it really set into me the damage that these type of chemical burns, chemical fires have, is that it's really about the toxins and the aerosols that are released into the atmosphere that people will be breathing in for miles and miles. So, of course, there's the environmental racism. Of course, the communities that are the closest to the factory, that I would almost say in their neighborhoods, are mostly Black, Latino, and working class. There's no doubt about that. What's interesting is that Wake Forest is about 2.5 miles, almost 3 miles from the site. And they did close Wake Forest. It was very interesting the way that city officials, in my opinion, selectively called for evacuation orders. My neighborhood itself never got the evacuation order, even though I am closer than Wake Forest is. I'm 2 miles out, not almost 3.5. But also one of the clinics where a lot of my clients seek hospital care, the clinic was evacuated, and they were even further out than my neighborhood again. So it was very strange who was and wasn't evacuated in this case. They were telling us they set up a mile perimeter, that was the immediate evacuation zone. But I'm not exactly sure what that meant, because as you saw what happened in the instance in Texas, the blast radius went beyond that. And this was twice as much potential fuel. So I'm not exactly sure what that meant. And then, of course, in terms of the air pollution, the air quality, of course, we did get warnings that air quality was going to deteriorate due to the fire. But there wasn't a lot of information on what exactly would be the implications for breathing this type of material in. There wasn't any warnings not to go outside. And so people were carrying about their normal days under this toxic cloud that and it is still smoldering today. So it's been burning for almost 72 hours.
We saw what the news was covering.
You're right. And this is in a very, in terms of suburban development, this is a very well built up suburban area. I mean, there's offices, there's Walmarts and different shopping strip clubs. And then there's a lot of apartment blocks. There's a lot of single family detached R1 residential homes as well. There's a lot of low income community here. So it's it's kind of interesting. And I was talking to some friends who live almost 15 miles away, and they were talking about how the smoke, because the smoke makes a channel, and through that channel, even 15 miles away, they were getting significant smoke. So,
where will that go? I mean, will that go up and then float into the jet stream? That's an interesting question because of all that crap. Excuse me. Yeah.
not likely,
No, I don't know.
because the temperatures aren't that high to shoot the material that far up. I mean, it certainly will get carried for miles and miles around. But I think that people who are outside of the state, Virginia, Tennessee, South Carolina, don't really have anything to worry about. The main, in terms of air pollutant, is, of course, the people of Forsyth County, where I live, the people in Winston-Salem. I mean, we're getting dosed with. And I haven't seen a fire like this in the city's history. Of course, I do live 25 minutes down the road from Pilot Mountain, and we did just actually have a wildfire envelop Pilot Mountain. But you can really tell the difference in the smoke. When I smelled the smoke from Pilot Mountain, it smelled natural, so to speak. But this chemical smoke fire here, I mean, a lot of the smoke had this musty yellow color to it. So, yeah, I don't know if you showed a collage with some of the videos that I showed you yesterday.
I did. I made a video startup. I could play it for you. Again, I'm sure a lot of people didn't see it. You want to see it? All right,
Yes.
let me play it, and then I'll play this again. It's a short one, and hang on, guys. Let me get this up, and Antonio can then see it because he didn't see it. He's been living it.
In North Carolina, thousands of evacuees are wondering when they'll be able to return home. The fire at this Winston-Salem fertilizer plant now burning for 24 hours.
I had an alert on my phone telling us to evacuate, so I just packed up everything and no questions asked. I'm just getting out of here.
The 600 tons of ammonium nitrate on site fueling fears of a catastrophic explosion. Overnight, firefighters ordering residents within a 1 mile radius to leave immediately.
If it explodes, it'll level a 1 mile radius. Please exit the area.
Evacuating themselves too. Tonight, authorities hoping that they're able to keep the fire burning cool enough to avoid a potential blast, and that
I got some video here of the smoke plume. I'm trying to get as close as I can. A lot of the area has been quarantined off, but this has been burning for almost 18 to 20 hours now, and it's just been emitting an immense amount of smoke and toxic plumes into the atmosphere. Unfortunately, I live fairly close by. Actually, I'm trying to get home and keep this all going. But this has been going on since sometime around 8 to 9 last night, maybe before then. And the air quality has gotten worse. I'm sorry, as I come closer to the area, I can actually taste something on my tongue. But yeah, the fire is still ongoing. Oh yeah, you can see it really close now. I've been told that the firefighters have given up. Oh yeah. Oh wow. Jesus.
All right, that's what I did with your work.
Wow,
That's
that was
what I did.
fantastic. I mean, from the perspective that all the digital work you did there and adding the music was great. And,
It's not. I love it. I love it. So no problem.
But geez, it made me just, I want to say to the viewers, I actually, going back and looking at that, I'm realizing now the risks that I put myself at by being so close to that chemical toxic fire. But also, I live right in the areas I've been breathing this in when I've been coming
Are
home.
people masking down there, or is that pretty much a thing?
It's certain people don't, and you know exactly who they are.
All right. Well, my whole thing was that could help people.
Oh,
Whereas
sure.
in Texas, when that one blew up, people didn't have an opportunity. Nobody would ever think about wearing a mask. And here people might have masks that could help them at least with this. This is a
Oh, yeah.
good use of masks.
And
Wow.
like I said, I mean, there was ash on my car. You could see the fine particulate matter. So actually having a
Ugh.
mask would be very effective in a way of keeping those particulates out of your lungs. I mean, it is infiltrating our houses, is infiltrating in your cars and your workplaces. So, definitely wearing a mask will mitigate and reduce. But certainly we are breathing this in. There
Yeah.
are going to be undoubtedly long-term health implications for this, and that does make me incredibly sad because the community has
True.
just been essentially poisoned. How long will we be? I mean, the people. I fortunately, my parents live almost 30 minutes away, so that's pretty far away, and I've been staying over there on that side of town, and but for people who don't have the opportunity to do evacuations, and like I said, the order was never called for my neighborhood. And
Unreal.
actually, what's interesting is notice they said
Unreal.
the blast radius was 1 mile. That 1 mile, there's an avenue right in front of the gates to my neighborhood, and that 1 mile radius ends right on the other side of that 4-lane avenue. And so I'm just thinking, wait, so if the blast radius, if this actually went off, the blast radius itself would just be right before the entrance of my neighborhood. So I
Holy
would
shit.
probably be enveloped by the shock wave.
And you just moved there recently too.
Right, I did in June.
Wow. Were you
But
farther away before?
yeah, actually I was. I was actually about 4 or 5 miles further away.
Was living near a fertilizer plant something that you even considered when you were looking at the place to live? I mean, do people even realize that the risks on a normal day-to-day basis?
Honestly,
I don't know.
fertilizer plant itself is in the middle of an office park. And then it's not a very big office park. It's not a very big office park at all. But the
My
office
God.
park mixed in the residential zoning. And so you have like this one, and you actually kind of can't tell because of it's the way they have it. Almost looks almost a little cute and attractive up front, a little
They're hiding it.
kind of their industry
Oh,
place. Maybe it makes it look neighborhood friendly. So it
oh,
explodes.
sure, your neighborhood-friendly ammonium nitrate plant. Yeah,
Right.
blow up our us. Oh,
Right.
lovely.
But
Yeah.
there's a Texas peat plant down the street. It's actually a packaging plant, so they don't really do any heavy chemicals or anything like that. But there's light industry in this area, but there's nothing like. I mean, this is pretty major. But the point that I'm making is that a lot of people were basically still operating just right outside of the blast radius. And if you've seen the HBO short documentary Chernobyl, there were some pictures that I sent Sandy, and it literally it was so eerie because at one point, when the fire was a little bit stronger, there was a column of just this mustard yellow smoke emanating from that spot,
Just
and
gross.
you just know that you're breathing in dangerous material.
You just know that you're fucked in your brain. Yeah, yeah.
But
Very messed up.
that's something about our friend Nick Humphrey does disaster emergency
Yeah,
management.
we talked about him already.
So
Yes.
there's this plug, but this says a lot about the disaster emergency management in our local community. I mean, sure, we haven't been faced with something like this, I'm sure, for some time, at least not since I've been in the city. And,
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of horrified to have gotten so little information from our public authorities. There's been no information. I mean, how will this impact the local groundwater supply? How will this impact? How long is this going to impact the air? What does this mean for people who are breathing this? Think about the implications on top of that. We're being hit with COVID right now.
Yeah.
So think about the interconnection between that, and also I feel it's horrible to see that, again, because of clearly environmental racism, a bunch of low income, mostly Black people of color communities are right around clustered around that area. Um, it's really sad to see, all of this kind of hit home. And I'm sure as we face a future that's increasingly more climate uncertain, and we see that our infrastructure clearly isn't prepared to move into such an era, we're going to be dealing with these type of disasters more and more often.
We are. And your guys there, I mean, I was just looking to pull up the but I'm not going to play. I mean, he was talking for, let's see. He was talking for a long time, but
my best shot.
this is the guy,
So agencies
Antonio.
have been assisting in this effort.
This is the
Winston-Salem
guy,
Police Department,
and of course they're
Winston-Salem
talking,
County Emergency
briefing.
Management, Greensboro
Yeah.
Fire Department, North
Let's see what
Carolina
they're
Regional
saying.
Response Team 5, Louisville Fire Department is here with a drone. Kernersville Fire
Okay, so
Department.
he's been,
And
I don't
there
know.
are a
Let's see
number
if we
of
can
fire
go
departments.
farther up if he's talking about safety.
Police Chief, City Winston-Salem Police Chief Katrina Thompson is here, and the Secretary.
All right, so I don't know if they're,
Move individuals.
What's
we
this?
also have the fire department going through the areas.
they're just talking about what they're
There's a
doing in the
collapse of the
present.
pile.
So I
It gives
suppose
some
that
fresh-
you're not going to get that much yet about the questions you have.
Yeah, and it's sad because, most of the media reels, as I was trying to find out more information about this, was just, and I get, the fire itself lures the headlines and things like that and gets people in and what have you. But at least for people in the local area, I mean, I felt like most people are completely oblivious to the danger that this is and that this presents to them. I mean, they closed Wake Forest University, so they thought that was significant. They evacuated North Point Medical, so again, they thought that was significant. They called my office and gave the order there. So I don't know. It's interesting that again, certain places, certain people were notified. But again, as I saw it, most people were operating right up to the to the radius line, and to me, that seems incredibly haphazard. Given the fact that when we saw the Texas explosion, it was incredibly detrimental. I forget how many people were injured and died. I think it was 12 first responders, and over 200 people were injured nearby, and over hundreds or thousands of homes were impacted by the shockwave. So the fact that we were still so close and there was twice as much material here, I mean, what happened again? We saw a similar incident in Beirut. That was the explosion in Beirut that disintegrated that hotel and that entire shipping area, the arena area.
Talked about it. Yeah, before you came in, we were talking about it. I pulled up a research article and we were looking at, but what I brought up was what has been really done through OSHA. We were looking at OSHA. Are there changes? And obviously they're going to find out. The officials will find out. But there's so many agencies, Antonio, involved in this. You'll have to rewind and watch. But there's a million agencies. Can I ask you a question? Because people are asking this. And what are the principal crops in your area? Okay, that's one. And then two, pets, grass, parks, parks for children. So if you could address those, that would be great.
Yeah, so the principal crop here is tobacco. I am from the tobacco town, United States. Back in the day, J.R. Reynolds was the main tobacco company. It's still here, still around. Their headquarters is downtown. It's the building that the Empire State Building was actually modeled after. So that's the main crop here. I can't think of actually any secondary crops that we grow. In terms of, I mean, there are, neighborhood parks. There's a neighborhood, a kid park too, very close to the fertilizer facility. I don't know about if there's any dog parks that are close by right here. When I used to live in Kernersville, there was a dog park and things like that, but I don't know if there's one. I have one in my neighborhood, but it's like specifically for this neighborhood dog park.
All right, well, let's hope that people think enough about their dogs that they do some kind of environmental cleanup. Raza says he loves the Starry Night Above You. Van Gogh was always his favorite. Yeah, people were saying that earlier. The Starry Night. I love that one too. Oh my goodness. Let's see if we have any more questions. Schools. All right. Somebody's doing some research. Jean, North Hills Elementary School is less than a mile from the chemical plant. So what's going on there? She's a teacher. She's concerned. That's why she's looking it up. Thank you, Jean. You're hired.
Yeah, they close the schools, and I get that, and I think that's appropriate, right? I mean, there's a huge chemical fire right within the radius again of this. But again, to me, it seemed like the officials were completely dismissive of the air problem. So it wasn't that the school was closed because the air was toxic. It was that they were close to the blast radius. But then, it's funny then, because then you're sending kids home, and you think about these suburban schools, they kind of like spread out. I mean, in terms of, the kids that they're bringing in. So actually you're sending some kids into the blast radius because parents didn't evacuate. I mean, even the fire chief told you there are people who did not evacuate out of the blast zone. And actually there's quite a significant amount of homes. I think 6,000 people evacuated, but there was more than 6,000 people in that area. Wow. So some kids were potentially going into the blast zone as they were getting out of school or not going to school. And then, of course, other kids were just going home to be inundated with the smoke. So in that sense, it's kind of interesting. Yes, I'm glad they closed the schools. They closed classes for Wake Forest. They evacuated North Point Medical. But, in terms of where people are going in the community to get away from the actual hazard, that's more dubious.
Wow. I wonder, as a result of this, I remember when 9/11 happened, the smoke and all that, and I had employees on Maiden Lane that were down there. So we had to go down there. They had to get new offices and all of that dust. And I'm wondering, I took worker comp claims from all of those people in case something happened to them. I wonder what happens in the environment, in offices that are that close, that are going to get messed up by this, how people's health issues are going to be monitored, for what, yourself included, for breathing.
Well, you know what? I don't have a lot of faith in our system in North Carolina. A couple years ago, Duke Energy had spilled coal ash into the Dan River.
We did talk about that, remember? Yeah.
We did. We were on your show. And at the time,
show.
The rising tide. But at the time, Pat McCrory, our Republican governor, former Duke Energy executive, only fined Duke $90,000 for basically poisoning the Dan River. And we're still feeling the impacts of that. So I doubt a serious policy will be taken. But again, this has been...
because what they do is they just kick the can. They just
this
let
is
it go.
my warning about the crisis that we face, is that a lot of the crises that we face by climate change are catalyst crises. That is, many of the crises are already present, right? It's already true that we have infrastructure deficits, and that these infrastructure deficits are killing people and reducing our quality of life. And so, for people who live in these areas who are the most vulnerable, we're going to see these impacts magnified. And so, the type of responses that we could be doing to adapt and prepare for an extreme climate would actually just be helping our local communities. Things that we need to be doing, things that we ought to be doing in the first place. And another thing that has to be done is that we really have to go into our cities and look at where are these places where heavy industrial facilities are close to residential zones, and then they have to be removed. I mean, because when they go down, the firemen stop fighting this fire. Okay.
Yeah,
so it was what was left for us here was it is either going to burn and smolder or explode. Okay.
That is terrifying.
That was what was left for us. The firemen had left the area, deeming it too dangerous to continue to fight the blaze because of the potentiality of explosion. But I think again, if this would have exploded with twice the amount of material, I mean, would I even be here today?
Antonio.
Having this conversation. So it seems like the lack of municipal response to what could have been a very, very serious crisis. And again, the people who are going about there every day don't have any sense of how serious and how real and how close they are to an emergency, this sort of crisis, which is why it reminded me of Chernobyl. I was thinking about the people who were standing on the bridge who were watching the fire. And one of the scenes is from one of the husbands, and he says, "What's dangerous about a fire? It's over there and we're over here." What was dangerous was the fact that a lot of that material was being carried in the atmosphere over Pepriot. And so that's kind of the same situation. And you saw from the videos that I showed, I mean, that smoke was incredibly yellow.
It was gross. We have another question. Let's see. Okay, so Jim, you know Jim McHenry, every Friday morning. Seems like officials can't come up with plans what to do in case of this, in case of that. Instruction folder for schools and businesses. Well, I could, posit that to you. And also, we did have the OSHA plan, I had OSHA's page open, and I don't know where it went, but we did look at that, Antonio. We looked at OSHA, but do you know anything where you?
I was trying to study as much as I can. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people think I'm very knowledgeable, but I don't know a lot about these type of particular situations. But I was trying. I wasn't able to really retain any information. I know there's a huge problem throughout the entirety of the United States, particularly on the eastern seaboard, both north and south. There are situations like urban sprawl has just crapped up around old industrial plants that used to be on the
like
city
Buffalo.
periphery.
That's how Buffalo is.
And so so in a lot of situations like this, and these plants are old. I mean, this plant here was built, I think, in the 40s. So you have these plants that are very, very old that are rusting. There's a lot of problems, and OSHA regulations don't necessarily keep up. I think I was looking at a metric, and they're able to do these acute analyses on these type of projects. I think it's like basically it came out to be one every 100 years.
Yeah.
So it was something so dismal like that it takes them, they have so little resources to actually get to these facilities and carry out the right inspections that, a lot of things might go awry before the new evaluations come in. And, companies have to do these upgrades to make sure the facilities are safe.
They do. I found that OSHA site. I'm just going to show you really quick. for you to see it. Process safety management. It's very encompassing. So that's what we looked at earlier. That's all. While we were waiting to make sure that you were okay.
Yeah.
My heart, be still. First, Jennifer in Boulder. She didn't have to be evacuated, but it was close. Now you. What the fuck is next? I almost floated away in the summer with all the torrential rains. I'm not sure what's going to happen this summer, but it's just a change for everyone. But this is not, see, what's happening with you is just, it's corporate neglect. I mean, it's just all encompassing. Let's see here. Oh, I had one. Oh, I lost it. People do OSHA. Okay. People do OSHA training courses, though you hardly ever meet them. Well, I mean, unless they go out, you meet them when they're at your company. Because in the university, we had OSHA overseeing the research labs. Oh yeah, because there was all kinds of crap in these labs on university campuses. OSHA's, of course, involved in that. Everybody's involved in that because they're watching out. The research, some research involves a lot of materials. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm just talking about all research, All right. So, we are an hour and 10 minutes, and I think we've done a pretty good job covering it. You're okay. Anybody else have any kind of question they want to ask? I want to thank everybody. Antonio, you want to do a plug for what you're doing again? What your channel is going to be?
Yeah, so I'm trying to start a new talk show or political channel, but I'm actually thinking about changing the name because the YouTube algorithm is so oppressive that I'm thinking the name politics, a piece for politics is too political, and so it's not going to win the average the algorithm. So now I'm thinking about a title called "The Controversy," where
that
we
might
just
work.
I
like it.
Different controversies and controversial topics as they come up, but as they've been throughout modern American history. So basically, I would say maybe 1900 to present. So that's where the show is really going to continue to focus and aim on, but we're just going to do a different title. And actually, this picture is going to be taken out, but this is actually I'm in the room, so to speak, of just to do like a little 360.
Oh, you're home now?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know you were coming home to do this. I thought you were going to be at your parents'. So you're home with all that crap still burning not far from you.
The smoldering is it's a lot less today. They've actually they reduced the order, so I am back in my apartment this morning. So
all right, so that's where it's all going to happen. On your new channel, which I will help with. I'm excited.
I'm in the business of buying my chair and my desk and the whole setup, but of course the supply chain. That's why I actually had to postpone it because none of my equipment's going to be here until 2 or 3, 4 months out.
Wow!
So
an office chair?
The office chair is taking 2 months.
Wow!
The desk is taking 2 months, and then I have a camera that's taking 4 months to come in.
Well, your ass needs a good chair. Let me tell you something. This chair that I have, I've had it for so long. I bought it when I was still working. It was the same exact office chair I had at my job. And I said, I love this. And I got it. It was expensive at the time. Now it's like, it's old. It's falling apart. I have to take it apart on the bottom and fix it. It could be that I just gain weight and it keeps falling. Because I keep always moving up. That could be. I suffer from largesse. But anyway, you'll get your stuff. Our supply chain stuff. I mean, this too shall pass. Here's one more. Okay. Antonio and others in the area. Oh, we did do this, wearing a 95 mask outside. Would that be helpful? He did answer that earlier, Tanya, but answer it again.
Yeah, it certainly would be. Like I said, when the first night when I came back to my apartment, I took a quick nap at my because I had to work overnight. I work in the healthcare industry, or I did. Well, I still do. I do it part-time now. But So I have to do a lot of third shifts, and I took a nap just during the lunch hour, and I woke up and I had a thin layer of ash particulates on my car. So an N95 mask would certainly help reduce the amount of particulates that you're inhaling.
Good.
Will enter into your lungs. So yeah, certainly.
All right. No, she said, sorry. No, no, no. Of course we would ask again. You're very important, Tanya. Well, listen, thank you very much, Antonio. We wish you continued safety. I know we're going to do a different show when we come, with you again before your channel is ready. And so, okay, wait. Just joining. Sorry I'm late. I really think Antonio needs to move north of the Mason-Dixon. There was a reason why the Pentagon stated that in a report about 15 years ago. Now he knows where he can go if he leaves there. All right, sweetheart. Would you like to just give your little goodbyes?
Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in. I know this little area got national headlines, so it's kind of cool in that way. But guys, thank you so much for your concern. So far, I'm doing okay. It looks like there's not going to be an explosion, and so I'll keep you up to date if anything else changes. But thank you, and I love our beautiful community.
I love you too. We love you all. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. See you Friday night. I don't know yet what's going on. Look for coffee cups, and don't forget, thank you for all of the things that you guys do.